It shouldn't come as any surprise that I'm a podcast person. I find them a uniquely convenient way to get access to voices that you wouldn't ordinarily hear, people you wouldn't ordinarily in everyday life be able to get to see. But like all these broadcast networks, you have to have a carefully curated list. You have to be very, very careful as to the voices you let into your head. As a result, all of my podcasts are factual in content. They're technology, science-based, history-based. There's no opinion pieces. I'm not interested in the sort of gibberish that some right-wing lunatic spews out from the comfort of his mother's basement. One of my current favourites is a podcast out of South Africa called the Science of Sport podcast. And it's a favourite for a particular reason. It lacks the breathless hyperbole that surrounds a lot of things like exercise science. Exercise science has a lot in common with trading. You wouldn't think so, but it does. And the thing it has most in common with trading is simply that people hold a religious view rather than a factual view. They cling to ideas and never let them go, irrespective of what the evidence says. So a lot of the time when you listen to people speak about exercise science, exercise physiology, nutrition and the like, what you're hearing is a religious view. And fortunately this podcast avoids that. I don't want to use the term the brains behind it, but the talking head behind it, Professor Ross Tucker, seems to be an eminently sensible, evidence-based person. Now, the purpose of this chat is not to sort of extol the virtues of this particular podcast, although for anyone with an interest in this sort of thing, it is well worth having on your list. It's rather that the most recent episode contained a phrase that I'd not heard before, but I thought was really, really appropriate. They were talking about the fact that come January 1, gyms are flooded by newbies who at the end of December have gone, I better get fit this year. And as a consequence, and everyone will be familiar with this who goes to a gym, in the first week of January, your gym is a little bit like the running of the salmon. There's no room in there for anybody. Come the first week of February, they're back to being like the state library with just a few old hands who are always there wandering around doing their thing. And they were talking about the fact that people drop off their exercise programs. People fail dramatically to stick to their resolutions. Now, sidebar, if you make New Year's resolutions, you're not a grown-up. Because the mere fact that you need a singular date during the year to make an effective change in your life shows you're not actually serious about your life anyway. But that's an aside. So the topic turned to ways of stopping people from failing, people who make these resolutions. And they made the point, and it's a very valid one, that most people when they make an exercise-based resolution say to themselves, right, what I'm going to do come January 1 is I'm going to go out and I'm going to run 5k at 5-minute pace. About 1k in they blow up and they have to walk home in defeat. So they've set themselves up for failure. And Tucker used this expression that I thought was very, very good in terms of building a mental model as to how you stop yourself from doing that. And he said what you have to do is rig the game to win it. And what he meant by that is that instead of setting yourself a stupid goal, like running 5k at 5-minute pace, or going into the gym and trying to deadlift twice your own body weight, or some other stupid thing that you might have seen on the internet, he suggested setting more manageable goals so that you come home a winner. So that instead of trying to blast out 5Ks, you walk, jog, dawdle 2. So you come home fresh, you come home feeling like you've achieved something, you come home not at death's door, not feeling as if you're about to have a massive cardiac event and drop dead on your own doorstep, but rather that you have achieved something. So what is the relevance of this to trading? I've lost count of the number of times I've come across people, particularly new traders, who say to themselves, right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to trade every stock in the world over every time frame, because the technology enables me to do that. The mere fact that I'm recording this on my phone in the car gives you an idea of how far the technology has come. And I can trade any market in the world from my phone right now. But that doesn't mean A, I should, or B, that it's a very, very good idea. What is a better idea is to set yourself a limited number of markets that you can reasonably engage with. For the majority of people, this generally means their domestic market, and it means a segment of their domestic market, not all of it. Because what is forgotten about trading is that it's not a matter of looking at pretty lights on a screen. It is actually an information management profession. Our job is to manage the information we receive, and the problem we have nowadays is we receive so much. We don't exist in an information desert. We're actually flooded. When I began trading, way back in the dark ages, when we all rode dinosaurs and wrote on slates, the only market you could get access to was the local market. That was it. It was impossible to trade overseas. You couldn't trade foreign exchange. It wasn't available to retail investors. Derivatives were only just coming on stream, and in very, very small numbers, and aimed at a very specialised market. So in many ways it was easier, because you were forced to concentrate. You were forced to find a segment of the market that you could become familiar with the rhythm and rhyme of and trade it. The problem now is that people shotgun the market. They just blast away hoping that they'll hit something. And there is a very, very old saying that says that the riches are in the niches. The people I've observed over the years who are immensely successful at trading seem to have a few things in common. Granted, they all had the same sort of psychological makeup. They all have the same internal discipline. They all have the same internal locus of control. But they do something interesting. They find a market that they seem to understand the rhythm of, and they trade that. And that's all they trade. Because that's all they're interested in. They're not interested in the entertainment value of trading everything under the sun. So the issue for new traders is that they set themselves up for failure. And they set themselves up for failure simply because they're overwhelmed. There is so much happening that their capacity to make decisions rationally just disappears. And that's understandable. Your IQ halves the moment you're under stress. And so as a new trader, you have to find ways to deal with that. And the simplest way to deal with that is to find a market that suits your lifestyle, your time frames, and I won't say your ability and interest, but has a resonance with you. Now, part of the problem is that unfortunately nowadays, with the advent of social media, which does provide a great deal of entertainment for us, you get the notion that there are people out there who blast the line that to be profitable, you must trade Bitcoin. Bullshit. To be profitable, you must trade foreign exchange. Bullshit. But you get a subset of that. It's you must trade foreign exchange using 1 minute charts overnight. Bullshit again. It is quite possible to become extremely wealthy trading a single market. I have known people who have done immensely well trading not only a single market, but a subset within that market. And back in the day, I knew people who became extremely wealthy trading one instrument. So the thing you need to do, not only as a new trader, but as an experienced one, is not to set yourself up to fail. As they say, you have to rig the game to win it.